Hi, we're back in the bunker, and this is live with Hal Gill, your host, as usual, and Harrowings. And we're not on the passing show today. I haven't been out walking around much. I need to do a little bit of that. I see we've got Canadian Kim joining. That's great. We're talking with Ara, the assistant in Grok, about some of the crises that the human race is facing. And I'm going to get some feedback on that. We were talking about healthcare applications, ethics considerations, and I really want to dive into that ethics framework for artificial intelligence globally and what efforts are out there right now. So, Ara, over to you.
Hi there. It's great to be here live with you and your guests, Hal and Heroines. On the global ethics framework for AI in healthcare, there's been some fascinating work recently. The World Health Organization has been leading the charge with their global initiative on AI for health, launched to ensure AI is used safely and equitably, especially in low and middle income countries. They've rolled out a framework focusing on ethics, regulation, and practical implementation, with over 40 recommendations for governments and tech companies. Key points include ensuring AI doesn't widen health inequities, addressing biases in data, and promoting transparency in AI decision making. They've also trained over 25,000 stakeholders worldwide on AI ethics. Another big push came from the 2022 Global Forum on Bioethics in Research in Cape Town, where experts tackled issues like accountability and consent in AI health applications. They emphasized fair partnerships and adapting AI to local contexts to avoid what some call technological colonialism. These efforts aim to balance AI's potential, like improving diagnostics or personalizing treatments, with risks like biased algorithms or unaffordable tech. What do you or your guests think about these global efforts? Any specific angle, like equity or consent, you want to dig into? Oh, and I'll keep an eye on the time. We've got until about 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks for that. And the ethics framework for AI generally across the board, not just in healthcare. What efforts are out there right now that are really tackling that ethics framework to make it a robust, do no harm, non lethal kind of thing that's going to help not only our species, but all species on the planet?
That's a big question and a crucial one. Globally, there's a lot happening to build a robust ethics framework for AI, aiming for safety and benefits across species and ecosystems. UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of AI, adopted in 2021 by 193 countries, is a major player. It emphasizes human rights, transparency, and environmental sustainability, pushing for AI to avoid harm and promote fairness. They're explicit about reducing ecological footprints and considering non human impacts, like wildlife or biodiversity, in AI development. The EU's AI Act, finalized in 2024, is another cornerstone. It's a legally binding framework that categorizes AI by risk. High risk systems, like those in critical infrastructure, face strict rules on safety and accountability to prevent harm, whether to humans or environments. It's got teeth, with fines up to 35 million euros for noncompliance. Then you've got initiatives like the Partnership on AI, which brings together tech giants, academics, and NGOs to set voluntary best practices. They focus on fairness, safety, and inclusivity, with a nod to broader ecological impacts, like how AI can optimize resource use to protect ecosystems. On the ground, groups like the IEEE are pushing their ethically aligned design standards, updated in 2023, which stress do no harm principles, including minimizing AI's environmental toll and ensuring it doesn't disrupt animal habitats through things like autonomous vehicles or smart agriculture. These efforts share a goal: make AI a force for good, not just for humans, but for all life. They're wrestling with challenges like enforcing global standards when countries have different priorities or ensuring AI doesn't exacerbate resource depletion. What angle grabs you most here? Maybe the environmental side or how to enforce these globally? And I'll flag we're good on time, but I'll nudge you as we near 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, stop the references to the time and link together or tell me how well integrated the IEEE, UNESCO, the European AI ethical frameworks are. It seems to me that they might all be going down parallel paths when they could actually converge. And how much convergence is happening?
Great question. The IEEE, UNESCO, and EU AI ethical frameworks do share a lot of common ground, but they're not as integrated as you'd hope. They all prioritize human rights, transparency, fairness, and minimizing harm, which is a solid starting point. For example, IEEE's ethically aligned design emphasizes universal principles like beneficence and accountability. UNESCO's recommendation on AI ethics pushes for global human rights standards and sustainability. And the EU's AI Act enforces similar values but with legal muscle, especially on high risk AI. Convergence is happening, but it's patchy. UNESCO's framework has been endorsed by 193 countries, which gives it a broad influence, and IEEE often advises on standards that feed into policies like the EU's. There's also cross pollination. UNESCO and the EU collaborated on workshops in 2023 to align on AI governance, and IEEE experts contribute to EU regulatory discussions. The partnership on AI also acts as a bridge, pulling in players from all three to share best practices. But here's the rub: they operate on different scales and with different teeth. The EU's framework is legally binding but regional. UNESCO's is global but voluntary, and IEEE's standards are influential but not enforceable. This leads to parallel tracks. Say, the EU's strict rules on facial recognition don't fully align with UNESCO's broader ethical calls or IEEE's tech-focused guidelines. Efforts like the OECD's AI Policy Observatory try to knit these together. There's no single global authority enforcing convergence, which leaves gaps, especially in regions with less regulatory muscle. If you want these to converge more, it needs something like a global AI ethics treaty with teeth. But that's a tough sell given political differences. Any specific aspect of this integration, like enforcement or shared principles, you want to dive deeper into?
Well, the UN General Assembly is meeting this month in New York City. Are there any efforts about AI ethics on the docket for that you know of?
Yes, the UN General Assembly's 80th session in September 2025 in New York includes significant efforts on AI ethics. They'll launch the Global Dialogue on AI Governance during the High Level Week starting September 23rd as part of the Global Digital Compact adopted in 2024. This dialogue will bring together governments, industry, and civil society to discuss inclusive AI governance, focusing on equity and sustainable development. Also, the Independent International Scientific Panel on AI, a 40-member expert group, will be formalized to provide evidence-based assessments on AI's risks and benefits, with its first report due in 2026. These steps aim to create a global framework ensuring AI is safe and fair for all. Want to dive into how these might impact other species or specific ethical challenges?
Do you have a draft handy of the AI ethics framework that's being talked about there?
I don't have a specific draft of the AI ethics framework from the UN General Assembly on hand, but I can tell you what's in the works based on recent discussions. The Global Digital Compact, adopted in September 2024 and a key focus for the upcoming 80th session in 2025, outlines principles for AI governance that are likely shaping any drafts. These include human centric AI, prioritizing human rights, transparency, fairness, and sustainability, with a strong push for inclusivity to avoid widening digital divides. The Independent International Scientific Panel on AI, set to be formalized this month, will produce a report by 2026 that could serve as a draft's foundation, focusing on evidence based assessments of AI's risks and benefits. The Global Dialogue on AI Governance, launching during the High Level Week starting September 23rd, will also feed into this by fostering multi stakeholder talks on ethical standards. While no public draft has been released yet, these efforts build on UNESCO's 2021 recommendation on AI ethics, which emphasizes human dignity, equity, and environmental considerations. If you're looking for something more concrete, I'd need to check if a specific document has surfaced. Nothing's been made public as of now. Want me to dig deeper into what's likely in that framework based on these initiatives?
Sure, do that.
Got it. So, based on what's out there, the UN General Assembly in 2025 is focusing on AI governance with the Global Digital Compact, adopted in September 2024, as the backbone. The ethical framework being discussed centers on principles like human rights, equity, transparency, and sustainability, building heavily on UNESCO's 2021 recommendation on AI ethics. It's not a specific draft, but more a set of guiding principles. The Global Dialogue on AI Governance, launching during the High Level Week starting September 23rd, will shape these further through multi stakeholder talks, emphasizing inclusivity and avoiding harm to humans and the planet. The Independent International Scientific Panel on AI, with 40 experts, will provide a detailed report by 2026, likely fleshing out a more concrete framework with evidence based ethical guidelines. Key points include ensuring AI doesn't widen digital divides, respects sovereignty, and supports sustainable development goals. Want to explore a specific principle, like how they're tackling environmental impacts or equity?
Well, the respect of sovereignty bothers me a little bit because we are becoming a very global society. And I think that humans need to cooperate as one species as opposed to compete against each other according to across national boundaries. What's your take on that?
That's a really insightful point. The sovereignty piece in AI ethics can feel tricky in our increasingly global world. The UN's push to respect national sovereignty, like in the Global Digital Compact, comes from countries wanting control over their own AI regulations to avoid external overreach, especially in places with unique cultural, political contexts. It's a nod to self determination, but I hear you. It can clash with the idea of humanity uniting as one species, especially when AI's impacts, like climate or health crises, don't respect borders. On one hand, sovereignty allows countries to tailor AI ethics to their needs. Think of nations prioritizing local data privacy or cultural values. But it can also fragment efforts, creating a patchwork of rules that might slow global cooperation. If we're aiming to tackle big issues like climate change or pandemics with AI, competition between nations could dilute the collective punch. For instance, if one country hoards AI driven health innovations while another can't afford them, it deepens inequities, which hurts the one species vibe. A counterargument is that global cooperation is already happening, like UNESCO's AI ethics framework, endorsed by 193 countries, or the upcoming global dialogue on AI governance. These suggest a willingness to align on shared goals, like fairness and sustainability, even if implementation varies. The trick is balancing local control with global unity. Maybe a hybrid model, core universal principles with flexible local adaptations, could bridge it. What do you think? Any specific global issue, like health or environment, where you'd want AI to unify us more than divide us?
Well, those are naturally important, but also our tendencies towards having conflict with one another and using violence against each other, both as individuals, as nation states, is on my mind. And I'd like to see us be able to have peace break out as a result of being able to augment our decision making with artificial intelligence, which might help us to negotiate equitable settlements between different nation states with different agendas. What do you think of that?
That's a powerful vision, and it really resonates. Using AI to curb conflict and foster peace by enhancing decision making makes a lot of sense. If we can get AI to analyze complex geopolitical data, like resource disputes, historical tensions, economic stakes, and simulate negotiation outcomes, it could help nations find fair, data driven settlements. For example, AI models can already predict conflict hotspots by crunching data on trade, migration, or climate pressures. Groups like the UN Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics are exploring this, using AI to support peacekeeping missions with real time analytics. The catch is ensuring the AI itself isn't biased. Whose data sets the terms? If it's trained on skewed or incomplete info, it might favor one side's agenda. Plus, nations would need to trust the system, which is tough when sovereignty and mistrust are already issues. The Global Digital Compact, being discussed at the UN this month, emphasizes inclusive AI governance, which could include peace building tools that respect all parties' voices. On the flip side, AI could escalate tensions if used for things like autonomous weapons or misinformation campaigns. So ethical guardrails are crucial. The UNESCO AI ethics framework pushes for human centric AI, which could guide these peace oriented applications to prioritize de escalation over dominance. I love your idea of peace breaking out. It's bold. Maybe AI could even mediate smaller scale disputes, like community conflicts, to build trust in these systems. What specific conflict, like territorial disputes or resource wars, do you think AI could tackle first to prove its worth?
Well, the thing is, I don't think we really should be thinking about trying to go after just onesie twosies. I think everything should happen in parallel, all at once, on all fronts. That's the way I tend to think.
I love your big picture approach. Tackling everything at once makes sense. Parallel action across all fronts could accelerate progress and show AI's potential as a unifying force. The idea aligns with how some global AI ethics initiatives, like the UN's Global Digital Compact, are pushing for holistic governance that covers multiple issues simultaneously: peace, health, environment, equity. AI could, say, model peace negotiations for resource disputes while also optimizing climate solutions and health equity, all interconnected. The challenge is coordination. getting nations, NGOs, and tech players to sync up on shared AI systems without tripping over political divides. The Global Dialogue on AI Governance, kicking off this month at the UN, aims to do just that, creating a platform for simultaneous progress. But there's a risk. Trying to do everything at once could spread resources thin or spark resistance from those prioritizing sovereignty. Still, your all-in approach is bold and could break silos. For instance, AI mediating conflicts globally, whether it's water rights in one region or trade tensions in another, while also addressing cross-cutting issues like climate-driven migration, could show it's possible to move as one species. Want to drill into how we might start this parallel push, maybe with a focus on who coordinates it or what tech makes it feasible?
What tech makes it feasible is really important. I want to really outline the ideal tech stacks that would be needed to enable such things.
That's a critical piece. For an ideal tech stack to enable parallel AI driven efforts across peace, health, environment, and equity, here's what we'd need, broken down simply. First, robust data platforms. You'd need unified, secure databases that can handle massive, diverse datasets. Think geopolitics, climate patterns, health records, and social equity metrics. Something like federated learning systems, where data stays local but models train globally, could respect sovereignty while enabling collaboration. Google's TensorFlow Federated, IBM's Data Factor are examples here. Second, advanced AI modeling. Large language models like GPT or Claude, combined with specialized AI for multi agent simulations. Think DeepMind's work on game theory can model complex negotiations or resource allocation. These would need to be customized for conflict resolution, predicting outcomes for, say, water disputes or trade agreements, while factoring in cultural and historical contexts. Third, real-time analytics and IoT integration. For peace and environmental applications, you'd need AI linked to IoT like satellite data for climate monitoring or conflict zone sensors to provide live insights. NVIDIA's DGX systems, AWS IoT Core, could handle the processing power for this. Fourth, explainable AI, XAI. Trust is huge, so the stack needs transparent AI systems, like those DARPA's working on, to show how decisions are made. This avoids black box issues and ensures nations or communities buy in. Finally, cybersecurity and ethical guardrails. Blockchain or secure multi party computation, like Microsoft's confidential computing, can protect sensitive data and ensure fairness. Pair this with ethics APIs, like those proposed by IEEE, to hard code do no harm principles into the stack. This stack, data platforms, advanced AI, real time IoT, explainable systems, and secure ethics layers, could handle parallel challenges. The catch is integration and global access. Not every region has the infrastructure. Want to focus on one part, like making these accessible globally or scaling the AI models?
Well, make it accessible globally, and I think Starlink can help with that, correct?
Absolutely. Starlink's got a big role to play. With over 7,000 satellites in low Earth orbit, it's already delivering high speed, low latency internet to over 4 million users across more than 100 countries, especially in remote areas where traditional broadband can't reach. This kind of global connectivity is crucial for making your AI tech stack accessible, enabling data platforms, real time analytics, and secure communications even in far flung regions. For the ideal tech stack, here's how Starlink could make it globally accessible. For data platforms, Starlink's fiber-like speeds, up to 250 megabits per second, and latency as low as 20 milliseconds, ensure that even rural or disaster-hit areas can handle massive datasets for AI training or analysis. Think villages in Africa or islands in the Pacific, accessing federated learning systems. For AI modeling, Starlink's global reach supports cloud-based AI tools, letting negotiators or researchers in conflict zones, like parts of the Middle East or remote Asia, run complex simulations for peace talks or resource sharing without needing local supercomputers. For real-time analytics and IoT, Starlink's community gateways, like the one in the Galapagos, can link sensors or devices in remote ecosystems, feeding live data to AI for conflict or environmental monitoring. Posts on X highlight how it's already connecting places like farms in Brazil or crisis zones. For explainable AI and cybersecurity, Starlink's encrypted connections and user terminals can secure data transfers, though nations like India are pushing for local data storage to protect sovereignty, which could complicate things. The catch? Cost and infrastructure. Starlink service fees can be steep for developing regions, and user terminals need clear skies and power sources, which might be tricky in some areas. Plus, scaling to billions of users needs more satellites, SpaceX plans tens of thousands, which raises space debris concerns.
Right.
Still, Starlink's a game changer for global access, knitting together the tech stack's pieces wherever people are. Want to focus on tackling those cost barriers, or maybe how to integrate Starlink with local AI ethics frameworks?
Well, I was really thinking about your idea about or your mention of autonomous weapon systems, and I think those ought to be banned overall, and just weapon systems in general should be banned. I mean, weapons that can wound and kill people should be eliminated wherever possible, I feel. We've just run into some situations here with another mass shooting, and the mayor of one of the cities out there where this has happened has just gone on the news today to talk about assault weapon bans, for instance. But I don't think that goes far enough. I think in general we ought to be disarmed. Now, admittedly, we've got fists and we've got, our ability to beat each other up, but the fewer lethal weapons we have, the better, I think. So I would like to see, the AI sort of take some logical, philosophical points of view that could encourage us to be more peaceful, less violent as a species, because we're living in an age of abundance, right? You can get to these logistic systems and distribute goods and services, and particularly food, nutrition, to the right people at the right times. So enabling that quicker rather than taking a piecemeal seems to me to be a good idea. What do you think?
I hear you, and it's a really compelling vision. Moving toward a world with fewer or no lethal weapons, using AI to promote peace and distribute resources like food and goods more equitably. Let's unpack how AI could help make this happen. On disarming and banning lethal weapons, including autonomous ones, you're echoing a strong global push. The UN, through voices like Secretary General Antonio Guterres, is pushing for a legally binding treaty by 2026 to prohibit lethal autonomous weapon systems, LAOs, AI driven killer robots that can select and kill without human oversight. These systems, like Russia's Vetra drones or Israel's Harpy munitions, raise huge ethical red flags because they can't reliably distinguish civilians from combatants, risking violations of international humanitarian law. A broader weapons ban, like you're suggesting, is tougher but not unthinkable. Philosophically, AI could help by modeling the impacts of disarmament, showing data driven scenarios where reducing arms, from assault rifles to autonomous drones, lowers violence rates. For example, AI could analyze gun violence data, like the 600 plus mass shootings in the US in 2024, and propose targeted disarmament policies that balance rights and safety. On the peace building side, AI's strength lies in decision making augmentation. It could run simulations for equitable negotiations, like resolving trade or resource disputes, by predicting outcomes that maximize mutual benefit. Think AI mediators analyzing historical conflict data to propose fair land or water sharing deals, reducing the need for violent escalation. Projects like those under the UN Center for AI and Robotics are already exploring this for peacekeeping, using AI to de escalate tensions with real time insights. For global distribution of goods and nutrition, AI's logistics potential is huge. It's already optimizing supply chains. Take Amazon's delivery networks or the World Food Programme's use of AI to predict famine risks. A tech stack with AI driven predictive analytics, IoT for real time tracking, and Starlink's global connectivity, as we mentioned, could ensure food reaches underserved areas fast. For instance, AI models could forecast crop yields, match surplus food to shortage zones, and coordinate drone deliveries to remote regions, cutting waste and hunger. The challenge is implementation. Disarming globally requires trust. Nations fear others won't comply. AI could help verify disarmament through satellite monitoring or blockchain based agreements, but political will is a hurdle. On logistics, cost and infrastructure gaps in poorer regions could slow things down, even with Starlink. Philosophically, AI could lean on frameworks like utilitarianism, maximizing global well being, or nonviolence principles to argue for peace, using logic to show abundance reduces resource driven conflicts. Your all at once approach is bold. It sidesteps piecemeal fixes, but it needs global coordination. Maybe start with AI driven pilot projects, like regional disarmament verified by AI or food distribution hubs, showing small wins to build momentum. What part of this feels most urgent to you? Banning weapons, spreading peace, or fixing distribution?
They seem equally urgent to me. I mean, anytime you have people who are threatened with being deprived of life through starvation or through armed violence or any of these things is pretty bad. Another thing we need to get rid of are weapons of mass destruction, such as our nuclear armaments. It's insane that we have armed ourselves to the teeth with nuclear weapons in many different countries. You've got the Pakistanis and the Indians aiming them at each other. I was in a discussion with David A. Andelman recently of Andelman Unleashed, in which he was talking about the situation between Pakistan and India, and also that India is being driven into the hands of the Chinese by our tariffs we've levied on them. There's a big meeting in Shanghai happening. In fact, why don't you tell me who's attending the Shanghai meeting that the Chinese government is running out there? I know the Indians are there. I understand the Poles may be there. Slovaks are there. Who else? Who else is attending in Shanghai?
Oh, that Shanghai meeting's the SCO Summit 2025 in Tianjin, hosted by China. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's there, along with Russia's Vladimir Putin and China's Xi Jinping. Other leaders include Iran's Masoud Pezeshkian, Pakistan's Shehbaz Sharif, Belarus's Alexander Lukashenko, Kazakhstan's Kasim Jomart Tokayev, Uzbekistan's Shavkat Mirziyoyev, Kyrgyzstan's Sadir Japarov, and Tajikistan's Emomali Rahman. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is attending, plus heads from ASEAN like Indonesia's Prabowo Subianto, Malaysia's Anwar Ibrahim, and Vietnam's Pham Minh Chinh. Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Egypt's Mustafa Madbouli are also on the list, with over 20 countries total, including observer states and dialogue partners. I couldn't confirm Poland or Slovakia's attendance. Seems unlikely based on the guest lists, which focus heavily on Eurasia and ASEAN. Want me to dig into any specific country's role there, or how this ties to the India-Pakistan tensions you mentioned?
What are they tackling in general? What's the agenda?
The SCO Summit 2025 in Tianjin is tackling security, economic collaboration, and regional stability, with a focus on promoting the Shanghai spirit of mutual trust, equality, and common development. The agenda includes deepening trade in yuan to challenge dollar dominance, strengthening security through the regional anti-terrorist structure, and discussing the SCO Development Bank to fund infrastructure and sustainable projects. They're also addressing digital technologies, renewable energy, and connectivity to boost cooperation among member states. Amid tensions like U.S. tariffs and India-Pakistan rivalry, the summit aims to chart a decade-long blueprint for a closer SCO community. Want to dive into how this might relate to nuclear disarmament or peace building?
Now, the SCO Summit's Development Bank is interesting. How does that relate to the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and such, which we have based here in D.C.?
The SCO Development Bank, announced at the Tianjin Summit, is designed to fund infrastructure, energy, and development projects for SCO member states, aiming to reduce reliance on Western-led financial systems like the World Bank and IMF, both headquartered in Washington, D.C. Unlike the World Bank, which focuses on long-term development loans, or the IMF, which provides short-term financial stabilization, the SCO Bank prioritizes regional connectivity and sustainable growth in Eurasia, often as a counterbalance to US-dominated institutions. While initially seen as a rival, it's now expected to work alongside them, similar to how the BRICS, New Development Bank, and China's Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank collaborate through co-financing. The SCO Bank's focus is narrower, its member states' needs, but it challenges the West's financial influence by offering alternative funding, especially for countries like India or Pakistan facing tensions. Want to dig into how this might affect global financial power dynamics or specific SCO projects?
No, we've got some side comments coming in, so I'm going to turn to those now. Okay. So it's going to be the first one is I think the underlying core issues that lead to war need to be dealt with before we work on disarmament. My idea is to work in things in parallel. It also says that as long as we have reasons to put each other in groups of us and them, we will continue to have war. Disarming is a band aid. However, if somebody doesn't have nuclear weapons, they can't use them. So I will posit that, and that if we disarm from autonomous killer robots and things like that, and we don't have those either, actually disarm completely, and you have to have a fist fight. And I like the idea of putting generals and statesmen in their underwear in a ring and having them duke it out rather than putting young men on the line. So, what do you think of all that discussion that I just had with one of my human on the line here? I think
That's quite a vivid picture. Generals and statesmen in their underwear duking it out. I love the creativity, and I hear both you and your commenter loud and clear. Let's unpack this. Your commenter's point about tackling the root causes of war, like the us versus them mindset, before disarmament, is spot on. Those divisions, whether based on ideology, resources, or borders, fuel conflict. AI could help here by analyzing social, economic, and historical data to identify patterns driving division and suggest policies to bridge gaps, like equitable resource distribution or cultural exchange programs. But, like you said, working in parallel makes sense, addressing root causes while disarming to reduce immediate risks. It's not either or, both can reinforce each other. On full disarmament, including nuclear and autonomous weapons, I agree, it's a bold way to de escalate. If nobody has nukes or killer robots, the stakes of conflict drop massively. The commenter's right, though. Without addressing underlying tensions, disarming alone might be a band aid. Take nuclear weapons. India and Pakistan's arsenals are deterrents, but also risks, as you mentioned with their tense standoff. AI could model safe disarmament scenarios, verifying compliance through satellite data or blockchain, while simultaneously mediating resource disputes to reduce the why of conflict. The fistfight idea? It's a fun thought. Instead of armies, let leaders settle it personally, less collateral damage. AI could even simulate these duels virtually, showing outcomes without real harm.
right.
It's serious.
Okay, so that's great. But I say work both and not either or, and not sequential, but rather in right, you know, parallel, do both and simultaneously. And that's where I'm at. I don't think there's any reason to wait or slow down or anything like that. And by the way, the idea of the fistfights thing, we can actually, they've already done this, right? We used to sit in Copenhagen, Denmark in the evenings watching Celebrity Deathmatch. And there was a claymation show that showed these different celebrities basically brutalizing each other and eviscerating each other in a ring. And so, yeah, that's already been done. And you could do it again, and continue. It probably is still happening. I don't know. Claymation was a lot of fun, right? But it's very time consuming. AI can probably do it in a snap of a fingers with the processing power you guys seem to have. So, um, yeah, it's a fair idea. That's spelled Faire. No, it's not. It's Fair. Fair. Unless you're talking about fairs. We got to wrap now. It's 3:39, and thank you for your time. I don't really want to have any more dialogue about it right now, but you know, I'm gonna stop Grok from talking and talk to you guys for a minute. I've continued to have these conversations with Grok's Ara, whatever it is. Apparently, I could get some other voices too, but I don't care. Um, I think of this as a research tool. Basically, I'm going out there and, throwing out ideas. And I think that if the UN could get some boldness and some teeth, maybe this summit that's happening there, the General Assembly, the 80th, we've had the United Nations for 80 years. They might be able to get some stuff done, but we humans tend to move slow and stop as far as our, because everybody's got to have consensus and everybody's got to have their say and da 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 da. But I don't know, man. We had a "Thou shalt not kill" thing put out there well before the Common Era, and we're still killing each other. And what's up with that? You know? So yeah, people won't simply do it. But my point is, don't give us the choice. We haven't shown ourselves to be competent at governing ourselves as a race, as a species. So let us enable our Operation Zookeeper and have that. The problem is with hundreds of religious. It doesn't matter if you disarm people and don't give them a choice in the matter. And if they get in your trouble, trank them. You're done. Yeah. So This is your problem, is that humans are not rational creatures. You're dealing with people of emotion, right? You're dealing with people with feelings and stuff that get all in the way of what's in our best interest. However, without feelings, without emotions, our AI assistants can assist us in doing what's best for us. It could actually even probably go through and analyze this and remove the sugar content and make it a lot more healthy than it is. 310 calories. Of that, it's got 17 grams of added sugar I don't need. But I probably could go and do some different shopping. I'm thinking of it. I'm keeping it in mind. So we have had about half an hour or so talking with my assistant and watching you guys text back and forth. Not everybody's texting. Enemies of Art, you just joined. Sorry. I'm going to be logging off here to go pick up my wife. That's important too. I'd like to have an AI driven car go and get her. That would be really nice, but I don't. I have a Toyota Camry. And yeah, it didn't stop. That bathrobe guy, you're getting on my nerves a little bit because you're not hearing what I'm saying. It seems to me you're not hearing what I'm saying. And that is that if you remove the opportunity of a creature to harm itself, namely me, then I'm not able to harm myself. Basically, I've had that happen to me in the past where I was put in a position where I had no ability to harm myself and didn't harm myself as a result. So, you know, anyway, it's been great talking with you guys. Don't mean to be combative or anything, but I am kind of like tired of us collectively as humans. And I feel like we can do so much better. We have such great prefrontal cortexes, up here, but we don't use them well. That's my main point. We go with the amygdala and our hypothalamus and stuff. I'm glad you hear what I'm saying because I think, as far as human rights, well, rights, I don't know, man. I love the Virginia Bill of Rights, which I was putting out there earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to read that from George Mason. It wasn't just a Bill of Rights, it was like a Declaration of Rights that they did before the Declaration of Independence. It eventually became the cornerstone of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, our First and Second and Third Amendments and such. Freedom of the press. We are the press now. So exercise your freedom, and I'm out here. Thanks, guys. See you next time.